Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Hi, Robert Hartline here with The Decision. You know that moment in time where it's time to make a decision and you need some help? That is what this podcast is all about. We are Nashville EO. This is the chapter of EO Entrepreneur Organization here in Nashville, Tennessee. The decision is for us entrepreneurs who are looking for help in a difficult situation that you may bring to a forum. My friend Joel Sanders is here to join us and tell stories together with my other friend, Eric Jackson. Welcome again to The Decision. Joe, tell me, how are you? How long have you been in EO?
Doing well. So just hit 3 years. I joined in March of 2020. Y'all remember what y'all were doing?
What doing then?
Yeah, what y'all were doing?
2020 seems familiar. That was a pretty interesting time to join.
It was a tornado. I remember.
Tornado.
Yeah.
What else?
I can't remember. I saw an anniversary date on the site that last week. I was doing something, signing up for an event or whatever, and I guess the day you pay your dues or you're officially in was March 22nd. You know, so about 3 weeks into everything changing, and I definitely remember the last room that I was in that was like shoulder to shoulder. I still don't even think they're back to this shoulder to shoulder yet. Was crammed in at that seafood restaurant in the Gulch, which was like the recruiting event, and I went to that, went to California, went to Vegas, came back, and then shit hit the fan, you know, kind of in the rest of the world. So
you didn't know you would be joining in the worst possible time to get together. You came to get together, and you were like, "Wait a minute, these people get on Zoom."
Time out.
Exactly. Well, and at the time, you know, we just stroked the check for the dues, the initiation fee, and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, this is kind of like a bet. This is a true bet. Like, this all sounds really good, but we'll see what this group is made of. You know, you know, and. Are they going to pull it together during this time and however, you know, make do? And sure enough, I think it probably, now I didn't have the experience of joining when y'all joined, but I think it could have been one of the best times to join EO because you could see that, a couple things. During that period of time, with everything shut down, this was a way you could connect with people that were like-minded. For me, too, everybody's new to me, so I worked really hard. It really gave me another purpose for a period of time, which was trying to just find a way to connect with different EO members. And also what I found interesting is that people had more time in their schedule because they didn't have this meeting or that commute time or whatever else. So I had like hour-long phone calls with people I have not seen or talked to since.
Yeah,
you know, and so they were productive, and so it was a pretty great time to join in, and EO Nashville really proved itself.
So tell us about your entrepreneur journey. When did you start your first business?
I started my first business at the age of 24. I was successful in real estate while I was a full-time college student. Had a lot of success. It kind of made the local papers, the local business journal. The local business journal, I got 40 under 40 when I was 23, like almost half the age of everybody else. And I say all that to say, and these were all full commission type things and doing a lot of real estate stuff. And then, so had just a bit of success in the real estate game. And it all came to a halt during the first recession. I graduated in college in 2007, had some momentum built up, deals put together, and none of the deals could get closed. None of them could get financing. And I had a strong feeling that all these deals were upside down with banks and everything. And I was like, I can fix that. I know I can fix that. And I didn't have any money. I didn't have any deals closing from a brokerage standpoint, so I didn't really have much of a choice other than to go to the corporate world or stay in the game and know I'm going to get some battle scars, but today wear those battle scars proudly, and that's what I opted to do. So I started my first company when I was 24. It was a turnaround management company for apartments, and we turned around 4,000 apartment units in the middle of the country per se, and so it's really like going in and turning around multiple multi-million-dollar operating businesses. And it was a weird time with the way we'd work with banks. We'd kind of, in a quasi way, work with bank regulators, and then really, find a way to recapitalize these assets, and they eventually sold. And the reason I started that company was to get a track record within the industry. So that way I was like, look, if I do this with somebody else, it may sound selfish, but I'm not going to get the notoriety for it. It's going to be somebody else's name stamped on it. But I know I can do this, and I don't really have a lot to lose. I'm 24, don't have a dime in my pocket, and so I can only go up from here, man. And that's what I did, and it worked out, and I got the track record that I wanted, I was looking for. When the apartment community started to sell, I didn't really want to grow that company. I went into it for the track record. So as they started to sell, it was a way to wind down the company, make sure people got jobs, but I didn't leave them hanging. And then I broke my leg and ended up living in my parents' basement when I was 28. And then the leg healed. I needed to move out of my parents' basement, so I ended up in Nashville.
I have not heard a broken leg story brought you here. I heard everything else about country music, bringing people here, but not a broken leg. How'd you break your leg?
Well, it has to do with music. I drank a little bit too much whiskey with the college kids that were living above me on a Thursday night. They were all from Bolivia, and they were about to go back to Bolivia. I was kind of winding down this company, didn't have a lot to do the next Friday. And I went back in my room to go to my room, and I had a guitar in one corner and an amp in another, and the guitar was plugged into the amp. So there was just a tripwire, literally a tripwire, and I just tripped. I wasn't skiing in Aspen, so...
Wow. So it was a little defeat there creates an opportunity for you.
Absolutely. When you're laying in your parents' basement, looking around, say, I got to get out of here. I can move up the street or move somewhere else. You got a minute to think about it.
If you trip over a guitar cable, I mean, you're destined to come to Nashville.
I think so.
At that point, you have to.
It kind of made up. It was between Nashville or Dallas, and I had a lot of friends in Dallas, but I was like, I think Nashville's more my speed. Yeah. And that's how I ended up here.
So when did you start? Did you start a new business when you arrived?
When I arrived, I had wound down the other company. Kind of had some savings and some, that was successful and stuff like that. And so when I came here, I really didn't have a purpose. And that was one of the things I really learned the hard way is don't be without a purpose of whatever. When I was watching the sun go down at 4. When I started every weeknight watching the sun come up, I was like, okay, this is, and it wasn't really because I was staying up partying all night. I was just, my schedule was so off that I was like, there's something weird about this. I don't have anything good to do and wake up for. So I started a company where we find it. It's a kind of a concept I brought to Nashville, put in systems in place where we find apartments for people. And I started that in 2016. Exited that company, which we can talk more about if you want, and then and then in 2021 started a new company, and it does the same market that does the same thing.
Oh wow! And so since you've been in EO, I guess the first question I really have for you is what drew you to want to join in the first place? What drew you in?
Great question. So around 2018, 2019, I really was kind of fiending. I knew mainly musicians, and then so that was the own crew of running buddies, and then real estate people, and that's who I surrounded myself with, almost personally and professionally. And the thing about real estate people is they control a bunch of walls, and walls don't talk. They don't know what it's like to make a payroll. And so I wanted to be around people that know that feeling that you've got to make payroll and all of the hassles and stuff that comes with that. I was just mainly a real estate guy, but I dealt with some of that. So, and I was an entrepreneur. So I was really looking around for something like EO, did not know EO existed, and kind of had formulated a game plan together. There's a Keith Ferrazzi book. I don't know if you've ever read his stuff, but he talks about hosting dinner parties and stuff. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some entrepreneurs together and throw some dinner parties or something. I don't know. It's kind of starting to pedal in that direction. And then I heard about EO. To this day, I don't really know where. I just remember hearing about that. I was like, that sounds like something I'd be into. Went to the website. I was like, I think we meet those qualifications, hopefully. and signed up. And then here we are. But so it was exactly and a gazillion times better than I could have ever asked for. But I was seeking it out and just hadn't found it yet. And I'm glad I did.
And so, one of the things that happens when you start with a new forum, you're getting to know people, you're starting to share things, you're starting to, start leaning on your forum to help you with decision making and what's going on, how do I need to navigate this, and learning from each other. In your experience with your own forum, do you have a story or a decision you were struggling with and you brought to forum for help?
Yes, absolutely. So when I joined EO, and again during COVID times, I didn't meet all of my forum mates in person, and we're a really solid forum, by the way. I really enjoy these people. But I didn't meet them in person, I think maybe for a year, not all of them at least. Maybe, I don't know what the timelines look like on that. So it's an interesting time. And the forum was put together with some people that had been in EO for quite a few years, and then a couple new people, and I'm one of the new people, right? So, but I got to be in with some people that had a lot of EO experience, and that's been amazing. I'm so thankful for that. So yeah, so going into forum, and we would have these monthly updates, I started to kind of feel like I was bringing the same issue over and over and over without much of a solution. And honestly, when I would bring up that issue, I was like, I can't even really explain it that well. And I've never felt like that in my life. Like when it's something that's like tied to so closely to me, it's like if I don't have an answer, I should be able to explain the situation. And it's just hard to articulate. And it was kind of odd place to be. But I kept finding myself bringing that over and over and over again. And it came time to do a coached presentation on it. And so I brought up, I remember even the coaching session, I was trying to articulate it and didn't do the best. I didn't feel like I did that great. And I just felt like that's a problem if I can't articulate this challenge very well. And when we did I did the presentation with my forum. And
can you share with us?
Oh, sure. Here's what it was. I started this apartment finding company in Nashville in 2016. Revenue is over $1 million a year and a half later. And this is very transactional oriented. So we ramped up pretty quickly, and it was a whole new concept for Nashville. We really did change the way people look for apartments in Nashville. And these were with systems that I put together, hoping they would work. And I was like, this is either going to take or not take. And I'll figure it out. And it took really well and changed the way people look for apartments in Nashville through a hyper personalized service. The way it works. It's a free service to the resident. We kind of hold their hand with a white glove approach through finding an apartment, kind of like with a real estate agent would. And then the way the company makes money is we get paid from the apartment community where they lease out of the cost of vacancy. So the cost of vacancy would cost the apartment community a lot more than what they pay us. So it's a boutique style real estate brokerage. So I started that, and my personality type is kind of that of a daredevil. I'll take risks, and I'm just kind of go. And I took a stupid risk, some guys wanted to invest in the company to build out a technology platform. And one thing I could absolutely, an experience share I have for any entrepreneur out there, is don't take money when you don't need it. I think the TV and different shows like and you hear about things like, oh, they got Shark Tank, that really popular TV show. All these people want to invest. Well, if you've got a really good plan and you've bootstrapped this, you may not need their money. I think sometimes I'll be nice enough to tell the people that. But don't take money when you don't need it. I had bootstrapped that company by every single definition I've ever seen of bootstrapped. That's what I did. I did all the hard knocks and simply didn't need the money, but I took it. And then we started to build out this technology platform. And then I would also say, if you partner with someone, be sure that you check their background and do your due diligence there. So that was mistake number 2. To the extent, if I were to redo it again, I would probably hire a private investigator to really look into these people to make sure that they are who they say they are. And I just started to see warning signs a little bit right after I signed the documents to partner with these guys, and that it may not be the right fit, and that some things may have not been totally clear to me. So anyways, we are building out this technology platform. They want me to go out and sell it for the real estate space. I get some customers signed on without any product being developed through relationships and everything else. And but the product never came to fruition, which was kind of on the people I partnered with to bring it to fruition. And so and then if anybody's kind of ever built out a technology product, you know that those things suck cash. So it ends up being that this real estate company that was successful and producing a good amount of revenue and some profit, all of the cash is going to fund this technology venture. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not making any money of its own. And it's not even completed. So I was like, so that was the problem I had trouble articulating. And I'm like, we would be profitable if we weren't doing this, but we weren't profitable. And then where are the profits going towards this thing that's not making any money and not really on a path? It was in a CRM segment of there's a gazillion CRMs out there and things like that. I was kind of just getting promised that it was going to, oh no, but it's going to have this and that's not out there. And it's going to have this. That's not out. It's going to have what Chat GPT is today. It's like, you can go rent those things now, But
there's such low code options that you can bootstrap with to prove a model before, but
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was robbing Peter to pay Paul situation. Mm-hmm. And then I decided Paul didn't need to be paid anymore. And so tried to buy the partners out. I tried to find a way to get the company that I solely founded and bootstrapped back.
Oh, geez.
We couldn't find a pathway there. And I was, I'm in my mid 30s and I'm like, man, these are my prime working years. And so I'm wasting time here because I don't believe in the direction this is going. And then along the way, because I kept getting further diluted in how much I controlled and owned of the real estate company because the technology company kept sucking cash. And so when it would come time for a cash call, I would have to sell more shares of stock. So long story short, I was no longer the controlling shareholder. And so I was faced with a tough decision. I presented in my forum. I was like, well, maybe that can show them the software and what our game plan with that is. And they all asked all these great questions and shared all these great experiences of just me realizing this is a piece of shit. And there's no market for it, and no wonder it's not making any money. And it looks like crap, smells like crap. It's probably crap. And I could it just basically, made me wake up. And, so a couple months later after that presentation, I like I said, tried to buy the company back and couldn't get that done. And I think because those guys liked the cash cow that was to continue fueling this technology development that's not going anywhere. So I just walked away from the company, held on to my shares that I owned and just walked away and said, I'm going to do something different. I resigned. I got with my attorney, said, what's the best way to walk away from something you founded and leave all the doors open and options open to whatever I want to do next. And I don't know what that'll be, but it's not going to be here. And that was a tough thing too, because you feel when you've built a company, especially this type of one where a lot of people work based on a full commission and you've really built a platform for success. Everybody at these companies I've built made more money than they ever have in their lifetime. And they were all in jobs that they weren't the right fit for them. And they came to our team and found a home because we do a lot of screening with personalities and stuff, trying to make sure they would be a right fit for the role. Because we have a lot of people doing the same job. So we've been able to gain a really strong understanding of what type of person could be really successful in that job. And we go seek them out. And so that was tough. Is feeling like, I was letting these people down that took a big chance on me and took a big risk to take the leap of faith. And they really did. So I sat around for a couple months. And like I said, I had my attorney clear all the papers and I was like, I genuinely could do a version 2.0 the first company I started.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so, I was like, it's going to suck because I'm going to have to redo some of those founder type things, but that I was kind of wish those days were behind me, but it'll be okay. And it really will be a true version 2.0 because I can leave all the mistakes that I made, at the past company. And so, 2 or 3 months later, I opened a new company. There was a direct competitor to my old one. While I still own shares in the old one. But I was just at that point a passive shareholder, just like you can go buy stock in Bank of America and in some other bank, and often the stock market. So
they had to go pick up the pieces and start running without you.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Without backgrounds in the industry. So,
right.
So, but I mean, it was. With that said, I built it on a strong platform. My goal was not to do that. My goal was to buy it back. So I didn't leave it and blow it up. I just walked away and was like, we want to figure out what the next move is. So.
And so form helped you with that decision to walk away.
Absolutely.
Then ultimately, it was like either stay here, make this work, sacrifice with little equity, right?
Basically, turn into an employee.
Yeah, of course.
And then the company you founded.
And then that's not what we want when we're entrepreneurs. We're specifically actively looking for freedom. We all think we're going to have freedom in starting a business. We don't get freedom. Do we?
We just have a lot more bosses.
We have
totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. But
and it's such a bitch when you're the founder of a company, all those pains that you have to go through. And then you're like, and now I just work here?
Yeah. Well, I think you knew the business was viable.
Correct.
And you just didn't like the arrangement that you landed in.
I made a bad deal.
Yeah, and that happens. And
I will say this, absolutely, wholeheartedly, and actually, as I was trying to negotiate my way out of that situation, the whole time I was thinking, if I was an EO, I would never have done this deal. If I was an EO, I would have never done this deal because it would have been the opposite. I would have been presenting my forum
on the front end.
Hey, I had this opportunity, and they would have poked those holes or shared those experiences to make me rethink it. And I didn't have that. I had a group of people, of friends and acquaintances, saying that sounds like a good opportunity. You should take it. Little do they know.
It's a really good point. You and I are maybe an alike in that mentality because when I started in EO in 2014, and I've always been enamored with software businesses. And I would read TechCrunch every day and figuring out all these companies getting all this funding and, they're scaling and all this sexy stuff. And I remember my first nerve here in Nashville. And a speaker was talking about growth through acquisition. And he was talking about funding sources, like the bank. Oh, really? The bank? They loan money out? They've been doing it since the beginning of time.
Right.
And they were like, well, do you have equity in your house? I do have equity in my house. Isn't that a better place to get money than giving up equity in your business? And I was like, yeah, and that's what helped me scale and is that realization I could go to the bank. But you go full story, and I'm in 2020, and my house was tied to my bank note with the bank, and my business was not in a good spot. And so I came this close to losing the house, but I didn't lose the house. But where you get your money from, there is the consequence of accepting the risk. And that's what we do. We take gambles. Like we're taking a gamble that, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to make this money 10 times the money, right? And I'm going to be able to get, 10 times the return. And then when it doesn't work as it should, then it's that level of risk that it's helpful to be able to go to a forum and hear these other stories so you can make those decisions on risk. Whereas by ourselves, it's a lot different. And that's why that experience here probably shows up.
And you can be fully open about everything. So the friends that I would go to, this would be over a cocktail or something that they would get the story, or over lunch or whatever it may be. And that's all they kind of really knew.
And these are accomplished entrepreneurs you're talking about too, right?
Yeah, right.
They're just friends.
Yeah,
right?
just friends. Yeah. And it's a variety. I mean, the people that have made their own money, their money already, they're in a different situation than the people that are trying to make it. And they can't. They sometimes don't get back in that headspace. So they may be accomplished in some other way, or they may be a physician that just was smart and followed a path that was already prescribed to them. And if you do all these things, you'll make a good paycheck and get to do your own thing.
And I think that's an important distinction to make here. For the 5 to 6 people that are listening to this podcast,
hundreds
I'm sorry.
of thousands, Eric.
Thousands.
We are all over the internets.
Eventually. So there is that magic that happens when somebody begins that meeting and we're all focused on being together, being in a confidential environment. What has that meant to you, knowing? And obviously, you've made some great decisions with the help of EO versus over a beer in a casual environment. What has that meant to you?
Oh, that's the thing. Me going back to my idea of doing a dinner party with entrepreneurs, right? It would not have been the same. It would have not been. Even the forum structure just works so well. It's time tested. It's proven. There's a couple different ways to skin the cat, but it's still all within the pretty much same box. You get to essentially choose who you want to be around, and they get to choose you. So it functions as a tribe. They can, and so everybody wants to be there together, and everybody takes it seriously. From showing up on time to carving out calendar schedules, and I've known people to fly in for forum meetings and fly right back out to the next meeting, but they took it that seriously. And so, but just being, and then they know the context, I think that was the other thing that started to come out is, as I was mentioning that I was going through this, monthly, I was kind of bringing in the same issue for a handful of months, may have been a whole year. I don't even know, before I made this presentation. So it's like, obviously, I keep repeating myself. This is what I need to present on. And then I went to go present on it. And I'm like, I guess kind of, as Robert was asking a minute ago, can I explain it? I couldn't even articulate my situation. Who's going to buy this software? What makes it different? All the basic business questions that I thought, having already successfully ran one company, and this was my second venture, I should be able to say here's what separates it. Here's what's special about it. Here's who's going to buy it. And here are the financial projections. And I couldn't answer any of those basic questions for what we are investing hundreds of thousands and maybe ultimately millions of dollars in.
Yeah. And, the question is, in your life, like now, you have this experience where you had this decision to make and you were like, oh, I'm stuck. What is different about Joel now that the time from, the thought to the action, like knowing when you got to change it into action, is it shorter now, or are you better at falling in line to a decision in your heart that you need to make, or do you feel like how does that show up for you? Do you feel like you're faster at that now? Or have you learned more of that, or the old Joel? What did you learn difference between those two people?
A great question. I would say the old me. I'm still pretty much the same person in a lot of ways, but I would say the way I approach that kind of stuff today. Well, again, with these battle scars to prove, but from working in the recession, I learned a hell of a lot that you couldn't get without going through that, and it was a wild and crazy time. And I was on the front lines being in the real estate industry. And then with this partnership situation of a company I founded that's getting milked for its cash and I'm getting diluted, and then to where I am now, I definitely am more deliberate. And I always thought I calculated my risks pretty well, but I think it all goes back to, why did I even start this company to begin with? So the first company was so I could get a track record. That's all I cared about. I didn't really care about making much money. And that's mainly what I got. Got a little bit of money, but very much a track record. And that's how I was able to come to Nashville and start this concept within the apartment industry that people kind of laughed me out the door at the beginning, but they're like, they had heard about me within the industry, but they're like, well, the other stuff he's done, it's worked out. So we should maybe take a chance and work with him from the apartment community perspective. And so now I guess I would be more cautious and more deliberate. Man, it's a tough question, but just be careful who you partner with and don't take anybody's money unless you need it. I think that's the biggest thing. I guess I thought I could calculate risks better than I calculated.
Yeah. So if you were a new EO member just jumping into Forum, what would you teach them on how to leverage Forum as a new person?
Great question. Man, get to that 5% and that area of vulnerability as fast as you can, and lay it out there. And if you have the right forum and the first a little bit of it, you're feeling each other out, and I get that. You're not going to go there. You're not going to end. Probably, I wouldn't anticipate somebody to end up there the first meeting, and there's a level of within forum people just don't want to bring all their baggage and drop it on the table and say, y'all help me figure it out. But the forum might be open to that. But if you pick out the most important bag you've got and say, guys, can y'all help me unpack this at some point? Then, when you're to that level of vulnerability and trust with them, you can be fully open. And that's where, talking through ideas with friends over a beer and stuff like that, they don't know the full backstory. You may not be so vulnerable to them because they know somebody else that this decision might impact, and I don't know what they're going to tell that person or what it may be. And I just to circle back to answer your question, because I've been sitting here thinking about it the more. I think it has to just come back to the way I would make that decision now and look at it is, why did I even start this to begin with? Was it to start a tech company? And if I would have asked myself that question before I did that partnership deal, the answer would have been no. It was the reason I started the apartment finding company was to generate cash so I can make real estate investments. My family's not wealthy, and I wanted to make real estate investments. I understood real estate. I understand real estate investments very, very well, and know how to make plays that other people can't see. And I was proven with that. But I need to go raise money from investors. But investors want to see that you're putting your own skin in the game as well. So that's the reason I started the apartment finding companies, is to generate cash so I could go do other ventures with that cash. Wasn't to do a tech company. And if I would have gone back to my why did I start that and held true to that, then I did that with the first company, which is to get a track record. And after 3 or 4 years, it's like, got track record, I have it, it's proven, I'm out of here, and I didn't do that with the second company.
It's so funny. I think about my businesses and going back to the why, it's so misaligned to who I am.
I found myself in a position where I've got 3 things going on right now in business, and they're all focused on my why. And it struck me one day that, this is why I'm having so much fun with this. It's all pointed in the same direction. It's pointed toward my strengths. And so over time, I've tried to get rid of the things that I'm not good at. There's this perception in the world that, I need to work on my weaknesses. Well, how often do you think that Tom Brady was with the defense, doing tackling drills? He never. I mean, he was good at throwing touchdown passes. So, I think there's benefit to knowing what your weaknesses are and kind of avoiding them in some regard.
Oh yeah.
And doing the things that you're best at, because that's what's going to give you life if it fulfills you, and that's the reason why you were put on earth. Just going to bring great things.
Absolutely. And the apartment finding companies, what I got out of it too is that, like, I hate to admit this, but I'll admit it. I'm not the person you call if you need help moving. I'm not that dude,
Dude, thank you. Thank you. Because friends don't ask you to help them move.
No.
You know why? Because that is so rude. Like, I will buy a moving truck for you so I don't have to. Why would a friend ask, I don't need your fucking pizza? Because they always give you pizza when you move, you know? Like, no.
I think that's
I would rather buy some guy.
Let's go sit down and have pizza.
Yeah.
The best vehicle in the world is a truck that also folds up and disappears when a friend wants to help moving.
Yeah.
You know, because truck you can do a lot of things with, but nobody wants to help anybody move.
No, I mean,
if it's a real friend, you'd help them move a body, but I mean, not their house.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. No.
And I have this philosophy, and I don't ask you to help me move. Like, I will bend over backward. I'll pay triple what I got to pay the movers just to not have to put anybody else in that situation.
I'll tell you, one of the best things about having gray hair is that nobody ever asks me to help them move anymore. It doesn't happen. That's one of the greatest things about getting older.
Yeah. That's funny. But what I'll say is with the apartment finding companies that I've also gotten out of it is all these other things that were so financially oriented. And what's been awesome about that is that I've been able to use some talents and essentially build a platform for people that find themselves in the service industry, that they're stuck. I'm like, well, do you see yourself doing that when you're 60? Right now you can make over 6 figures bartending on Broadway. We see it all the time. We see what these people actually make because when we rent apartments to them, and they live in nice apartments. The bartenders at Tootsie's live in very nice apartments, and so, but so giving them, and then or people that get a college degree or they go to be a teacher and they realize they kind of want to make more money than what that pays, or they're in real estate but haven't quite found the platform for success. So using talents to help those people has been super rewarding. And I did not see any of that coming.
And so you're getting satisfaction of putting someone in a business for themselves, sort of,
correct.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Making them entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And that's where you're getting your why you're doing it. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
And the cash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Oh, you mean that's part of the equation?
You got to eat.
Yeah,
occasionally.
Yeah. So how does that show up? That probably shows up when you're recruiting and... Yeah,
absolutely. When we're recruiting, and what's interesting is, and then it's fun to come kind of be around EO people, and then kind of go around these people that want to be, that you can feel that entrepreneurial spirit and within them of like, well, I kind of go find out that they started their own podcast. Honestly, it's like, well, that took some guts to just start it, and they somehow got it on Spotify. I haven't even listened to it. I don't know if it's the best podcast or whatever it may be. But that shows some entrepreneurial spirit and drive. What I provide them is somewhat of a similar platform where they get some similar freedom. They get to express themselves. They get to help people take the stress out of their apartment search. But this platform makes you money. I kind of almost think of it as like a franchise for a person.
And I bet you it's I'm new to Nashville. I want to meet new people. And what a cool way to do that, to meet newcomers that are coming in. I bet they get to meet a lot of people.
We're their first friend in the city. They come here, they'll get off. Sometimes we pick them up at the airport, and then we spend a few hours with them, and we help them pick out where they're going to live for the next year. And so we really, and then you know what? What's interesting is some of these people, they've truly become they will be in each other's weddings.
Oh, wow.
Because, they really connected that much with their client, because we put them in the car and take them to the different apartments to look at.
So what's the go-to experience that you take a stranger out of town where you take them to it and they go, oh, this is so cool? Is there like a go-to place in Nashville that...
I guess, even if you're a party or not a party or anything, and they haven't seen Broadway. And this is the good thing about Broadway being so overcrowded and wild these days, is that at 11 a.m. that place is rocking, Mm-hmm. And so you can go down Third or right through the middle of it and be like, you ever heard about these honky tonks? Well, there it is right there. And you can, and we like to roll down the windows because you can hear you can tell it's live drums. It's no DJ.
Right.
And they're good. Yeah. And so, again, you don't have to be a partier and a honky tonker to just appreciate that free, world-class live music. And then, I think everybody just has to see that.
Well, I think part of it too,
and it's fun to see their wow factor when they're new to it.
I've been taking my kids to Fifth and Broad,
there you go.
And the first time that place opened up, there's a restaurant downstairs. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. We're out, kind of outside on the sidewalk. We're trying to have dinner, and it was the sights and sounds of all the partiers going by back and forth and yelling and screaming, and these people from out of town having the time of their lives, and the energy and you just seeing the people just screaming. You're like, that's pretty awesome. They're really loving our city. And sometimes we take it for granted.
Totally.
Sometimes we're like, we forget how awesome we are to be living here. It's just Nashville's changed so much, but it's so fun.
Trust me, as somebody who moved here as a kid in 1977, this is a different town.
This is a different town.
Lower Broad was not where you would want to go back then.
Yeah, I love watching those old 60s films of going downtown. This next level.
Yeah. And what's interesting about it is, too, and EO Nashville, particularly with how strong our chapter is, I think demonstrates this very, very well, is that the success of a city is built on its people, not the buildings. They are actually, I was going to call them goofy buildings. I just say that a lot, but but they are really pretty nice apartments that we're always in. That's not what makes Nashville.
Yeah.
Now, you have to have nice places to house nice people, but it's the quality of the people and the guts that so many of these people that we meet. They're not coming here because they're forced here by a job. They're saying, I'm from rural Indiana, and that's not where I need to stay. I'm coming to town with or without a job, or I'm willing to go bartend, work at a fast food restaurant. I know the people in Nashville aren't going to judge me, and then I'm going to figure out how to put this to work. And honestly, sometimes we run into them like 3 years later, and maybe they moved into a cheap apartment when they moved into town, and then they're moving into $4,000 place in the Gulch, and they kind of had some game plan that sure enough worked. It
worked out.
And it's the quality, but Nashville. I think the United States as a country the reason for its success is it's full of immigrants, or people's parents were immigrants. They knew they were picked up on, and this Hitler dude's a bad dude, and we should get out of here or something. But it's a country full of a lot of immigrants, and I think Nashville is now the city that's full of a lot of immigrants, and all these people, a lot of them, they're from the United States somewhere, even in California and the coast, and they're just like, they just picked up on, I don't think this is the place for me anymore, and they bring their great ideas and their strong businesses and they bring them to Nashville, and I think we see that in EO Nashville directly,
I've heard stories of people who were transferred to Nashville. They had a job, mid-career maybe, and then they get told, well, we're going to move you to Schenectady. It's like, no, I quit. I'm going to stay in Nashville. That happens all the time.
All the time.
And they figure out, all right, where am I going to work next? Or maybe I start a business. And it's that kind of town. And the idea that EO Nashville is the third largest EO chapter in the world, we now have 345 members, is mind-blowing. But when you get here and you realize how important this small business economy is, how important entrepreneurs are to Nashville, then you begin to realize, it's just, they're everywhere. It's unlike any place I've ever been.
Yeah, and they're good. I learn things from people that the people that have transferred from other chapters, and different. It's like that's a different take on it than we have in the South. And
I think it also helps too. Everyone, it seems to me, has always been humble.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys are just doing incredibly well, but you never know it. It's something, me and my wife had this conversation because I've been in other groups in the past, and it was always like this braggadocious thing on the side. You would hear stories about, assets they have or whatever, or maybe how much money they were making or how awesome they were doing. And we don't ever have those conversations. Like when I'm with people, we're talking about, well, how are your kids doing?
Exactly.
Where are they going to go to school? They're home for the summer. What are you guys going to? It's just like, but it also at the same time, the struggles that we're having do show up, and I really enjoy knowing that I'm not alone in the struggle. We are all in a struggle of some sort, and we're all learning. And it's this sharing of all this that you get from a really vulnerable place for a lot of conversations.
Yeah,
You're so right.
The other thing about Nashville that's unique is if you're in a big setting and you ask how many people are native to Nashville, there's going to be very few hands that go up. So everybody's from somewhere else. I mean, I kind of consider myself a native. Moved here when I was 9 years old, which 1977, do the math. But there are very few people that actually were born here in Nashville, and very few entrepreneurs, very few people in EO. Yeah. And it's a melting pot.
It is. And that's with the apartment companies. That's the interesting thing, is to be on the truly front lines of that, and meeting these people. And
they're brand new,
fresh off the boat. And then seeing the relationships that form over time. But it's all about the people. It's not about these buildings. That's just, that's what's needed to attract these people.
Yeah. Well, Joel, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate having you here and having you in EO. So awesome. Thank you.
You guys have been amazing. Our conversations offline have been amazing, and so glad to know both of you.
Awesome.
Likewise.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.